To be alive is, in itself, an astonishing fact, yet many human lives pass almost unnoticed by those who live them. Surrounded by constant noise, information, and obligations, we often move through our days as if under a subtle spell, half aware of our own existence. Conversations are held while the mind is elsewhere, meals are eaten without tasting, and beautiful moments pass by without being truly received. To be present, therefore, is more than a pleasant idea. It is a profound return to what life actually is. It is the art of inhabiting one's own existence fully, of allowing the mind, the body, and the heart to be in the same place at the same time. The miracle of being present does not depend on extraordinary circumstances. It unfolds quietly in the simple act of paying honest attention to the moment we are living now. Before we proceed, you are warmly invited to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a brief comment sharing what being present means to you. Presence can be understood as a quality of sustained attention and openness. It is not merely the absence of distraction, but a state in which the mind is neither racing ahead into imagined futures nor locked in the replay of past events. In presence, thoughts may still appear, yet they no longer carry us away so completely. There is a certain clarity, a stillness beneath the movement, as if one were sitting by a river, watching the water flow rather than being swept away by the current. This quality of presence is not reserved for spiritual experts or contemplative traditions alone. It is available to anyone willing to pause, to observe, and to listen. In a world that constantly urges us towards speed and fragmentation, the decision to be present is a quiet act of courage. Modern research in psychology and neuroscience confirms what ancient wisdom has long suggested. The ability to attend to the present moment is deeply connected with well-being. Studies on mindfulness, an intentional, non-judgmental awareness of present experience, show reductions in stress, anxiety, and depressive symptoms, as well as improvements in emotional regulation and resilience. When people train their minds to return, again and again, to what is actually occurring, their relationship with thoughts and emotions changes. Instead of being dominated by worry or regret, they learn to witness inner experiences with greater calm and clarity. The science does not remove the mystery of presence, but it helps us appreciate that this miracle is not abstract. It has measurable impacts on the brain, the body, and the heart. Yet we do not need scientific data to sense the difference between a life lived absent-mindedly and a life lived with presence. One might recall a meal eaten in haste, standing in front of a screen, with barely any remembrance of its taste or texture. Then, by contrast, imagine a simple piece of fruit eaten slowly, with attention to its color, its scent, the first moment of sweetness on the tongue. In both instances, the world is the same, yet the experience is entirely different. The miracle lies not in the fruit itself, but in the quality of awareness brought to it. The same principle can be seen in conversations, walks, work, or moments of rest. What transforms them is the depth of our participation in them. Presence is inseparable from the body. The mind's habit is to travel, toward imagined futures, toward reconstructed pasts, but the body is always here. To return to the breath, to feel the weight of the feet against the ground, the movement of the chest as air enters and leaves, is to return to the only place in which life can be experienced, this moment. Simple practices, such as pausing for a few slow, deliberate breaths during the day, can interrupt the automatic rush and re-establish contact with the present. These gestures may appear insignificant, yet they create a subtle but powerful shift from reactivity to awareness. When the mind reconnects with the body, scattered attention begins to gather, and a sense of groundedness emerges. One of the obstacles to being present is the belief that it is a luxury reserved for those with fewer responsibilities or problems. Under pressure, people tend to think that presence can wait until everything is resolved, until life becomes easier or more orderly. However, the opposite is often true. The more complex and demanding life becomes, the more essential presence is. When attention is fragmented, errors multiply, relationships suffer, and stress escalates. When attention is steady, even if external conditions remain challenging, the inner response becomes more measured and intelligent. Presence does not remove difficulty, but it alters how one meets it. Just as a skilled sailor cannot calm the sea but can navigate it more wisely, a present mind navigates adversity with greater composure. Another misconception is that being present requires suppressing thoughts or emotions. Presence is not an act of violence against inner life. It is an act of hospitality. To be present is to allow whatever is arising, pleasure or discomfort, joy or sorrow, to be seen clearly and felt fully, without adding unnecessary commentary or resistance. This does not mean indulging every impulse, but it does mean acknowledging reality as it is, rather than as we wish it to be. When one feels sadness, for instance, the common reflex is to escape, through distraction, overwork, or excessive stimulation. Presence, however, invites us to sit quietly with the sadness, to feel its contours in the body, to notice the thoughts that accompany it, and to observe how it changes over time. In doing so, the emotion often softens, revealing layers of meaning that would otherwise remain hidden. Presence also transforms our relationship with time. Much of human suffering stems from being mentally absent from the only time that truly exists, now. The mind revisits old mistakes, replays conversations, and imagines future scenarios in an attempt to gain control. While reflection and planning have their necessary place, they can easily become forms of self-torment when they are disconnected from presence. By cultivating the capacity to return to the immediate experience of breathing, seeing, hearing, and feeling, one begins to perceive time differently. Moments cease to be mere obstacles on the way to some future achievement. They become inherently valuable, worthy of respect in their own right. Life is no longer a race across a barren desert toward an ever-receding oasis. It becomes an unfolding landscape in which each step has its own quiet significance. Importantly, being present does not mean withdrawing from the world or ignoring responsibilities. On the contrary, true presence sharpens perception and enhances effectiveness. A person fully attentive to the task at hand, whether writing a report, caring for a child, or driving a vehicle, is more likely to act with precision, patience, and care. Errors decrease, creativity increases, and interactions become more humane. In interpersonal situations, presence manifests as genuine listening, hearing not only the words spoken, but also the emotional tone, the pauses, the hesitations. When someone feels truly heard, something deep within them relaxes. Conflicts become easier to resolve, and trust begins to grow. The miracle of presence is that it dignifies both the one who offers it and the one who receives it. Even in solitude, presence is transformative. Many people fear being alone with their thoughts, equating solitude with emptiness. Yet solitude, when inhabited with awareness, can become a rich and luminous space. One might sit by a window, observing the play of light and shadow, the movement of leaves in the wind, the rhythm of distant sounds. In such moments, the mind gradually quiets, and a sense of quiet intimacy with life arises. This intimacy is not dramatic or spectacular, but it is deeply nourishing. It reminds us that we are participants in a vast, intricate reality that exceeds our individual concerns. The miracle of being present is, in part, the realization that even when alone, we are accompanied by the whole of existence. The practice of presence also reveals the depth hidden in ordinary experiences. Consider a simple morning routine: waking, washing the face, preparing a cup of tea or coffee. On automatic pilot, these actions blur into a vague sequence that we scarcely recall. With presence, each step becomes distinct: the feeling of water on the skin, the warmth of the mug in the hands, the aroma of the drink rising with the steam. These details, though small, are not insignificant. They are the texture of a life. When we pay attention, what once seemed routine becomes almost sacred, not because anything external has changed, but because our mode of relating has shifted from indifference to reverence. It is natural to wonder how one can cultivate such presence in a world designed to fragment attention. The constant allure of digital devices, the pressure to be perpetually available, and the stream of notifications all conspire against sustained awareness. Yet presence does not demand perfection. It asks for sincerity and persistence. One simple approach is to choose a few anchor points during the day. Moments when you deliberately pause, even for 30 seconds, to return to the breath, to the sensations in the body, and to the immediate environment. Upon waking, before meals, before starting a new task, and before sleep are particularly suitable occasions. Over time, these brief pauses function as threads, slowly weaving a more continuous fabric of awareness throughout the day. Another valuable practice is to give full attention, at least occasionally, to activities you already perform daily. Choose something simple: brushing your teeth, washing the dishes, walking from one room to another. For the duration of that activity, commit to being fully there. Notice textures, movements, sounds. Observe the mind's tendency to wander and gently return it to the task. You are not trying to create a perfect state, but to honor what is happening right now. These small acts of fidelity to the present moment accumulate. Gradually, the habit of absence begins to weaken, and the capacity for presence gains strength. Yet presence remains, in a certain sense, a miracle, because it cannot be forced into existence by sheer will. It can be invited, cultivated, and welcomed, but it always retains an element of grace. There are moments when, without consciously intending it, we suddenly find ourselves fully here. Time slows, colors appear more vivid, and a quiet sense of gratitude arises without an obvious reason. In such moments, one senses, however faintly, that life itself is offering an invitation. The question is whether we accept this invitation and allow it to transform how we live. This transformation does not require radical external change. It begins with a shift in orientation, from striving to be elsewhere to consenting to be here. This consent is not passive resignation. It is an active recognition that life is unfolding now, in these circumstances, through this body, with these feelings and thoughts. To be present is to say, with sincerity, yes, this is my life, and I am willing to meet it as it is. From that yes, new possibilities emerge: greater clarity, deeper relationships, and a quiet but enduring sense of meaning. When one begins to live with greater presence, a subtle reordering of values occurs. Constant busyness, once worn as a badge of honor, starts to lose its appeal. The pursuit of distraction for its own sake seems less satisfying. Instead, one feels drawn toward experiences and relationships that allow for authenticity, depth, and mutual recognition. The capacity to be present becomes a measure of what is truly worthwhile. Activities that demand constant self-betrayal, a denial of one's limits, needs, or values, become harder to sustain. In their place, a gentler, more integrated way of living begins to emerge, shaped not by external pressure alone, but by an inner sense of alignment. In this way, the miracle of being present reveals itself not as a distant ideal, but as a path available in each ordinary day. The journey is gradual, punctuated by moments of forgetting and remembering, of drifting away and returning. Yet every time we come back, to the breath, to the body, to the person in front of us, to the task at hand, we reaffirm a simple but profound truth: life is here, and we are capable of meeting it. As this reflection deepens, it becomes clear that the miracle of being present is not meant to be kept in isolation. It is meant to flow outward into the way we relate, work, and contribute to the world. Presence, when nurtured within, naturally begins to shape the outer contours of our existence, inviting us to live with more integrity, compassion, and purpose. Presence finds one of its most powerful expressions in human relationships. To be present with another person is to set aside for a moment the internal commentary that usually occupies the mind, the silent judgments, the rehearsed responses, the preoccupation with one's own image. It is to offer undivided attention, a quality that has become increasingly rare. When you look into someone's eyes and truly listen, without rushing to correct, advise, or impress, you create a space in which that person can appear as they are. The words they speak may be familiar, but the experience of being heard so completely is often new. In that space, defensive postures soften and authenticity emerges. Many conflicts in families, friendships, and professional settings are fueled not only by differing opinions, but by the lack of genuine presence. People talk past one another, interpreting words through the filter of their assumptions and fears, rather than listening from a place of open curiosity. Presence does not guarantee agreement, but it changes the climate in which disagreement unfolds. When both parties feel seen and respected, it becomes easier to explore differences without resorting to hostility. The willingness to pause, breathe, and truly attend to the other can transform the tone of a conversation, even when the content remains difficult. Over time, such moments of attentive presence weave trust, making relationships more resilient in the face of inevitable tensions. Presence also invites a deeper form of empathy. When we are truly attentive, we notice small details, the subtle shift in someone's posture, the fleeting shadow in their expression, the hesitation before they speak. These signs often convey more than the words themselves. To be present is to let these signals register in us, awakening a compassionate awareness that says, in effect, I am here with you, your experience matters. This does not mean taking on the other's pain as our own or becoming overwhelmed by it. Rather, it means acknowledging that their inner world is as real and as complex as ours. Such recognition is, in itself, healing. It affirms the fundamental dignity of another human being. In the context of work, presence becomes a source of both excellence and integrity. In an environment that rewards speed, multitasking, and constant visibility, the idea of focused attention can seem almost countercultural. Yet numerous studies show that multitasking reduces efficiency and increases errors. When we divide our attention among multiple tasks, none of them receives the depth of engagement required for high-quality work. Presence, by contrast, allows us to immerse ourselves fully in the task at hand. Whether the work involves complex analysis, creative problem-solving, manual labor, or caring for others, sustained attention enables deeper understanding and more thoughtful decisions. Moreover, Presence at work is not only about productivity, it is also about meaning. When we are fully present, even in modest or repetitive tasks, we can see how our efforts contribute to a larger whole. The act of answering a phone call, organizing documents, cleaning a space, or coding a line of software becomes part of a broader tapestry of service. This perspective does not deny the existence of frustrations or systemic challenges, but it offers a way to remain inwardly connected to purpose. In the absence of presence, work can feel like a series of disconnected demands. With presence, it can become a field in which our capacities, values, and aspirations are given expression, however imperfectly. Presence becomes especially significant when life presents adversity. Pain, loss, illness, and uncertainty are unavoidable aspects of the human journey. The instinctive response is often to flee, to rush toward distraction, to numb ourselves, or to construct narratives that deny the depth of what we are experiencing. Yet what is pushed away in this manner tends to return with greater intensity. Presence offers a different, though more challenging, path. It invites us to remain with our experience, not forever, not without support, but long enough to acknowledge the reality of what is happening. This acknowledgement is not a passive surrender, it is an act of profound honesty. To sit with grief, for example, is to allow tears to fall without rushing to justify or suppress them. It is to feel the heaviness in the chest, the emptiness in daily routines, the quiet ache of absence. Within that honest contact, something paradoxical occurs. Though the pain may remain, it becomes less terrifying. We realize that we can survive its waves, breath by breath. Over time, the rawness softens, and within the very space where loss once seemed absolute, new forms of meaning and connection may emerge. Presence does not erase suffering, but it opens the possibility that suffering may be integrated, transformed, and in some mysterious way, ennobled. Similarly, in periods of anxiety and uncertainty, presence can be a stabilizing force. The mind, left unchecked, projects countless scenarios, many of them catastrophic, few of them likely. These projections may feel unavoidable, yet they are not the same as reality itself. By returning to the immediacy of experience, the sensation of the chair supporting the body, the sounds in the room, the rhythm of inhalation and exhalation, we remind ourselves that, in this precise moment, we are here, alive, and capable of taking one step at a time. This does not solve every problem, but it prevents the mind from drowning in what might happen, allowing us to respond more effectively to what is actually happening. Presence also has a subtle yet profound relationship with creativity. Original insights and fresh ideas rarely emerge from a mind that is perpetually scattered. They tend to arise in moments when attention is quiet yet alert, when we are fully engaged with a question, a material, or a process. Artists, scientists, writers, and innovators often describe entering a state in which time seems to lose its grip, and only the work in front of them exists. This state, sometimes called flow, is in many ways a form of deep presence. It is characterized not by strain, but by a harmonious balance between challenge and skill, effort and ease. While such states cannot be commanded at will, they become more accessible when we cultivate the habit of bringing full attention to what we do, rather than dispersing it through constant interruptions. In our relationship with technology, presence demands intentionality. Digital tools offer immense benefits, allowing us to communicate, learn, and create in unprecedented ways. Yet they also present a continuous invitation to leave the present moment for a world of curated images and endless updates. Without conscious boundaries, it is easy to spend hours in a state of partial attention, never fully inhabiting the here and now. The miracle of being present in this context may involve simple but deliberate choices, silencing notifications for periods of focused work or rest, establishing device-free times during meals or before sleep, or taking brief breaks from screens to look at the sky, listen to ambient sounds, or feel the contact of feet with the ground. These small acts reaffirm our allegiance to reality as it is directly lived. Presence in solitude remains a crucial dimension of this transformation. In a culture that equates constant social interaction with fulfillment, choosing to be alone, without immediate stimulation, can feel counterintuitive. Yet solitude, inhabited with presence, allows us to hear the quieter voices within, our deeper intuitions, long-neglected aspirations, subtle misalignments between what we value and how we live. Sitting quietly, walking in nature, or engaging in reflective writing can become ways of befriending oneself. This friendship is not sentimental. It involves the willingness to see oneself clearly, with both strengths and limitations, without harsh judgment. Over time, this inner companionship becomes a source of stability that does not depend on external approval. As presence deepens, gratitude often arises spontaneously. When we truly see what is before us, the face of a loved one, the warmth of sunlight on the skin, the simple fact of being able to breathe, an unforced appreciation begins to bloom. This gratitude is not an obligation to think positively or deny difficulties. It is a quiet recognition of the gifts interwoven with our challenges. Even on difficult days, there are countless aspects of life quietly supporting us. The labor of people we will never meet, the infrastructures that provide water and shelter, the resilience of our own bodies. Presence allows these often overlooked realities to become visible, and with visibility comes a natural sense of thankfulness. To sustain presence over time, it can be helpful to integrate small, meaningful rituals into daily life. These need not be elaborate or tied to a particular tradition. They can be as simple as pausing at the threshold of a room before entering, taking one conscious breath, and silently setting an intention to be attentive and kind. They might involve lighting a candle at the beginning or end of the day as a reminder to return to oneself. Such gestures, repeated regularly, act as gentle cues, redirecting attention from dispersion back to awareness. They affirm that presence is not an abstract ideal, but a lived practice, cultivated moment by moment. Ultimately, the miracle of being present reveals a deeper dimension of existence. When attention settles into the here and now, when we are no longer constantly fleeing ourselves, a subtle sense of inner spaciousness emerges. Within this space, it becomes possible to rest, not merely as a physical act, but as an existential posture. We discover that we are more than the sum of our worries, achievements, and roles. There is a quiet center within, untouched by the fluctuations of success and failure, praise and blame. To live from this center is not to withdraw from life, but to engage with it more fully, from a place of groundedness and clarity. From this perspective, the miracle of being present is not only about improving personal well-being, though it certainly does that. It is also about contributing to a world in need of lucid, compassionate human beings. A person who is present is less likely to react blindly, less likely to perpetuate cycles of harm driven by unexamined fear or anger. They are more capable of recognizing the humanity of those who differ from them, of listening before judging, of pausing before acting. These qualities, when multiplied across communities and societies, hold enormous transformative potential. The path of presence is both simple and demanding. It asks only that we come back, again and again, to the reality of this moment, to the breath, to the body, to the task, to the person before us, to the feelings that arise. We will forget, and then remember, and forget again. Yet every act of remembering is significant. Each time we return, we strengthen a capacity that brings us closer to ourselves, to others, and to life itself. In the end, to be present is to say a wholehearted yes to existence as it unfolds, without waiting for perfect conditions. It is to receive the gift of this moment with openness, even when it does not match our plans. It is to recognize that life is not something that will begin at some distant point, once every problem is solved and every goal attained. Life is happening now, in the ordinary and the extraordinary, in the joy and the sorrow. The miracle is that we are here to witness it, to participate in it, and through our presence, to honor its profound and fragile beauty.